let me tell you a story about Lagos, where tradition dances with chaos every single day. This tale begins with a young man named Ade, 23 years old, sitting in his small room with cracked walls and peeling paint. He scrolled through Instagram like every other youth, searching for something interesting to fill his afternoon. The ceiling fan squeaked above him, barely pushing the hot air around. His phone screen glowed bright against his tired face. Then he saw it, a video that made him stop mid-scroll. A masked dancer, dressed like the ancient masquerades from his grandfather's stories. But something was different, very different. This masquerade wore bright white sneakers, the expensive kind that cost more than 3 months' rent. The dancer flipped through the air, spinning and twisting in ways that seemed impossible for any human being. Ade sat up straight. His eyes went wide. The video had already gathered 50,000 views in just 2 hours. Comments flooded the screen faster than he could read them. Some people praised the dancer, others cursed and called it disrespectful. Ade mumbled to himself, even masquerades want to be Instagram famous now. The video came from yesterday's cultural festival in Ikeja. Ade knew that festival well because his grandmother dragged him there every single year since he was 5 years old. She would point at the traditional dancers and say, "This is who we are." Ade never forget. But this masquerade in sneakers? His grandmother would probably faint from shock. Ade watched the video 3 more times. Each time, he noticed new details. The dancer moved with perfect rhythm, blending old masquerade steps with modern street dance. The mask looked authentic, carved from dark wood with tribal markings. But those sneakers glowed under the festival lights like lightning in a storm. The comments section exploded with theories. One person wrote, "This must be that rich politician's son showing off." Another said, "I swear I saw this same masquerade near my house last week." A woman commented, "My uncle says spirits are getting modern too." Ade laughed at that last comment, but something bothered him deep inside. Who would dare mix sacred tradition with expensive sneakers? And why did the dancer seem so familiar, like someone from a half-forgotten dream? By evening, the video had spread across Lagos like wildfire during Harmattan season. Everyone talked about the sneaker masquerade. Street vendors argued about it. Taxi drivers debated while stuck in traffic. Even Ade's mother, who barely used her phone, called him to ask if he had seen that disrespectful video. Ade decided to investigate, not because he cared deeply about tradition, honestly. He just felt curious, the way you feel when you hear strange noises at midnight. He saved the video and began searching through the comments for clues. Someone mentioned seeing the dancer near an old warehouse in Surler. Another person said the masquerade appeared only at sunset, like a ghost with expensive taste in footwear. That night, Ade couldn't sleep properly. His mind kept replaying the video frame by frame. The way the masquerade landed after each flip, the sneakers barely making sound. The crowd's reaction, mixed between awe and confusion. The confidence in every movement, like the dancer owned the entire world. His phone buzzed. A new comment appeared. "The masquerade will dance again tomorrow at the old railway crossing. Come see if you're brave enough." Morning came with its usual Lagos chaos. Car horns blaring, generators coughing to life, children shouting on their way to school. Ade rubbed his eyes and checked his phone immediately. The mysterious comment had disappeared. He searched through hundreds of other comments but couldn't find it anywhere. Had he imagined it? Was his mind playing tricks because he needed sleep? But he remembered the words clearly. Old railway crossing. That place existed, abandoned for 15 years after the government started and never finished a railway project. Only area boys and adventurous teenagers went there now. His friends called it Ghost Junction, because strange things supposedly happened there at night. Ade made a decision. He would go there today, even though every reasonable voice in his head screamed that this was foolish. He dressed quickly, wearing his oldest jeans and a faded t-shirt. If he was going to chase a mysterious masquerade, he wouldn't do it in his good clothes. His phone buzzed again. This time, a message from an unknown number. "You're actually coming? Interesting. See you at sunset, Ade." His blood ran cold. How did this person know his name? Aid spent the afternoon trying to act normal, but his mother noticed something wrong immediately. Mothers always do. She studied his face while serving him rice and stew for lunch. "You look like someone chasing trouble," she said, not asking but stating a fact. Aid forced a smile and told her he was fine, just thinking about finding a better job. She didn't believe him. He could tell from the way she kept glancing at him while washing dishes. But she said nothing more, perhaps understanding that young men sometimes need to make their own mistakes. 3 o'clock passed. 4 o'clock dragged by slowly. 5 o'clock felt like it would never end. Aid paced around his room, checking his phone every few minutes. The mysterious message remained, glowing on his screen like a challenge. Who sent it? How did they know he would see that comment? Why did they use his name? Finally, 6 o'clock arrived. The sun began its descent, painting Lagos in shades of orange and red. Aid grabbed his phone, checked that it was fully charged, and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" His mother called from the kitchen. "Just meeting a friend," he lied, feeling guilty immediately. The old railway crossing sat at the edge of Surler, where the city slowly transformed into wild bushes and forgotten dreams. Aid took 2 Danfo buses to get there, listening to other passengers complain about fuel prices and government problems. Nobody mentioned the sneaker masquerade. Perhaps the viral video hadn't reached everyone yet. Or maybe people had already moved on to the next scandal. He arrived just as the sun touched the horizon. The abandoned railway stretched before him like a rusty snake sleeping in tall grass. Broken concrete pillars stood like ancient guards who forgot their duty. Graffiti covered every surface. Colorful words screaming about love, pain, and football teams. Aid walked slowly along the tracks, his heart beating faster with each step. The evening breeze carried the smell of burning trash from nearby houses. Somewhere, a dog barked. Somewhere else, music played from a distant radio. Then he saw movement. A figure stood 50 meters ahead, silhouetted against the dying light. Even from this distance, Aid could see the mask's outline and the bright white sneakers practically glowing in the dimness. His mouth went dry. His legs felt heavy, but he forced himself forward. The figure didn't move, just stood there waiting, like patience itself wearing expensive footwear. "You came," a voice called out. Female, young, amused. The masquerade removed her mask. Slowly, dramatically, like actors do in movies. Aid's brain took several seconds to process what his eyes were seeing. Lila Okoro, his childhood nemesis. The girl who left Lagos 7 years ago after her family moved to London. The same Lila who once beat him in every single school competition, from spelling bees to relay races. The Lila who told him on her last day that she would return someday, and make him eat his words about her being too proud for her own good. "No way," Aid whispered, shock turning his voice into something small and confused. "You're the sneaker masquerade." "You?" Lila grinned, that same confident smile that used to drive him crazy in primary school. She looked different now, older obviously, with short natural hair and the kind of confidence that comes from traveling the world. But her eyes held that familiar mischief, that spark of someone who enjoyed causing controlled chaos. "Surprise," she said, twirling the mask on one finger. "Did you miss me, Aid? Or were you too busy scrolling through Instagram to remember old friends?" "Friends?" Aid found his voice growing stronger. "We were never friends, Lila. We were rivals." Lila laughed, a sound that echoed across the abandoned railway like bells in an empty church. "Still holding grudges? After 7 whole years? Aid, you really need to learn how to let things go." She walked closer, her sneakers crunching on gravel. Up close, Aid could see they were limited edition, probably costing more than his monthly salary. Probably more than 3 months' salary, honestly. "What are you doing?" Aid demanded, trying to sound angry instead of confused. "Why are you disrespecting our culture by wearing sneakers with a sacred masquerade mask? Do you know how many people you've offended? Disrespecting?" Lila's smile faded slightly. "Is that what you think I'm doing?" Typical Aid, always judging before understanding, always thinking his way is the only correct way. Our elders, Lila interrupted, created those traditions centuries ago. They adapted to their time, their circumstances, their world. Now it's our turn to adapt to ours. Or should we all keep doing things exactly the same way forever, even when the world around us changes completely? Aid opened his mouth to argue, but his words tangled in his throat. Part of him wanted to defend tradition fiercely. Another part remembered how his own grandmother sometimes complained that young people ignored their heritage completely. I came back to Lagos 3 weeks ago, Lila continued, her voice softer now. I walked through Ikeja, through Surler, through all the places I remembered from childhood. And you know what I saw? Young people with their heads buried in phones, completely disconnected from who they are. Nobody cares about cultural festivals anymore. Nobody wants to learn the traditional dances. Everyone just wants to copy American and British trends. She held up the masquerade mask, studying it like an artist examining a masterpiece. This belonged to my grandfather. He was a respected masquerade dancer before he died. When I found it in our old house, I felt something. A connection to home, to roots, to everything I'd been missing in London. Aid listened, his anger slowly transforming into curiosity. He'd never heard Lila speak like this before, with such passion and vulnerability. But I also realized, Lila continued, that tradition doesn't have to be frozen in time like a museum piece. It can evolve. It can dance in sneakers. It can flip and spin and make people stop scrolling their phones for just one moment to watch something real and alive. So you decided to become viral, Aid said, understanding dawning slowly like sunrise. I decided to make people care, Lila corrected him. Tell me honestly, Aid, before you saw my video, when was the last time you thought about masquerade festivals? When was the last time you felt proud of Yoruba culture, instead of just seeing it as something old people do? Aid wanted to argue, but he couldn't. She was absolutely right. He'd attended festivals every year because his grandmother forced him, not because he felt any real connection. He'd watched traditional dancers with the same boredom he felt watching paint dry. The video got 50,000 views in 2 hours, Lila said, her confidence returning. 50,000 people stopped whatever they were doing to watch. Some got angry, yes. Some called me disrespectful, but they all watched. They all felt something, and that's better than feeling nothing at all. Before Aid could respond, they heard voices approaching, multiple voices, getting closer rapidly. Lila's expression changed from confident to worried in an instant. Oh no, she whispered. They found us. Who found us? Aid asked, but he already knew the answer. Through the growing darkness, he could see figures approaching. Older men, walking with purpose and anger. He recognized one of them immediately, Chief Adiemi, the chairman of the festival committee, the man who took cultural traditions more seriously than his own heartbeat. That's her. Chief Adiemi's voice boomed across the railway like thunder, announcing a storm. The girl who mocked our sacred traditions, wearing sneakers with a masquerade mask like she's performing in some American music video. 3 other committee members walked beside him, all elders respected in the community. Their faces showed the kind of anger that comes from feeling deeply disrespected. Aid's stomach twisted. This wouldn't end well. Lila stood her ground, though Aid noticed her hands trembling slightly. Chief Adiemi, I meant no disrespect. No disrespect? The chief's laugh was harsh and bitter. You took sacred regalia, mixed it with foreign clothing, and performed like a circus act. Do you know how many generations of tradition you spat upon? I was trying to keep tradition alive. Lila's voice grew stronger. Young people don't care about masquerades anymore. I was trying to make them interested again. By making a mockery of it, another elder interjected. His name was Mr. Okonkwo, and Aid remembered him as someone who never smiled, not even at weddings. You think our ancestors would approve of sneakers and Instagram videos? Aid surprised himself by speaking up. Maybe they would. Everyone turned to stare at him. Chief Adeyemi's eyebrows rose so high they nearly touched his hairline. "What did you say, young man?" Chief Adeyemi asked, his tone dangerous and quiet. Ade's courage wavered, but he forced himself to continue. "I said maybe our ancestors would approve. They were innovative, weren't they? They created masquerades to communicate stories, to bring communities together, to make people feel something important. Lila is doing the same thing, just with modern tools." "Modern tools?" Mr. Okonkwo spat the words like poison. "Sneakers are not tools. They're fashion. Expensive, meaningless fashion that young people waste their money on instead of investing in important things." "But they got people's attention," Ade argued, gaining confidence. 50,000 views in 2 hours. When was the last time traditional masquerade got that kind of attention? When was the last time young people cared at all? Chief Adeyemi studied Ade with narrowed eyes, as if seeing him properly for the first time. "So you support this disrespect? You think tradition should bend and twist to please children who cannot focus on anything for more than 10 seconds? I think tradition should evolve or die," Ade said, shocked by his own boldness. "And I'd rather see it evolve than watch it slowly disappear because nobody under 40 cares anymore." Silence fell like a heavy blanket over the abandoned railway. Chief Adeyemi's face went through several expressions: anger, surprise, consideration, then something else entirely. When he finally spoke, his voice carried less rage and more calculation. "You make interesting points, young man. Both of you do. Perhaps we've been approaching this problem incorrectly." Lila and Ade exchanged confused glances. This wasn't the reaction they'd expected. "The festival committee has been struggling for years," the chief admitted, his shoulders sagging slightly. "Attendance drops every season. Young people avoid us like we're selling expired medicine. We've tried everything: posters, radio announcements, even Facebook pages that nobody reads. Nothing works." Another elder, Mrs. Badmus, nodded sadly. "My own grandchildren prefer watching Korean dramas to attending our festivals. They say traditional events are boring and old-fashioned. It breaks my heart. But this video," Chief Adeyemi continued, gesturing toward Lila, "caused more discussion about masquerades in one day than we've managed in 5 years. People argue, yes. Some feel angry, certainly. But they're talking. They're interested. They're paying attention." Ade felt hope blooming in his chest. "So you're not going to ban her from future festivals?" Chief Adeyemi smiled for the first time, though it looked slightly painful, like his face wasn't used to that expression. "Ban her? No, I have a better idea. A challenge." "A challenge?" Lila repeated, suspicion and curiosity mixing in her voice. "Tomorrow is Saturday," Chief Adeyemi said, his eyes gleaming with sudden excitement. "We're hosting the quarterly cultural festival in Ikeja. Instead of just traditional masquerades, we'll have a special event, a dance competition, traditional style versus modern style. You, young lady, will represent the modern approach. We'll provide a traditional champion to represent the old ways. A dance-off?" Ade couldn't help laughing. "Chief, that sounds like something from an American movie." "Call it whatever you want," the chief replied, "but it will draw a crowd. It will create excitement. It will make people care about masquerades again, even if some of them just want to see drama and conflict. And perhaps," he added thoughtfully, "it will show us all whether tradition and modernity can coexist, or if one must defeat the other completely." Lila's competitive spirit ignited visibly. Ade could practically see the fire in her eyes, the same intensity she'd shown during their childhood rivalries. "I accept," she said firmly, "but I choose my own music, my own style, my own choreography. No interference." "Agreed," Chief Adeyemi said, "and our traditional champion will have the same freedom. May the best dancer win, and may their victory teach us all something valuable." That night, Ade couldn't sleep again, but for completely different reasons. His mind raced with excitement, anxiety, and questions. He'd somehow become involved in what would probably be the most talked about event in Lagos for weeks, maybe months. He thought about Lila, probably practicing somewhere right now, perfecting her combination of traditional and modern moves. He thought about whoever the festival committee would choose as their traditional champion. He thought about his grandmother, who would definitely have opinions about all of this. Around midnight, his phone buzzed. A message from Lila. Can't sleep either? Meet me tomorrow morning at the old community center. I need your help with something. My help? Aide typed back. Why would you need my help? Because you defended me today when you didn't have to. Because you understand what I'm trying to do. Because despite our rivalry, I always respected your honesty. Will you come? Aide stared at the message for a long time. Finally, he typed, 9 o'clock. Don't be late. Me, late? Aide, I'm never late. You're the one who always arrived 5 minutes after everyone else. Despite everything, Aide smiled. Some things never changed. Their rivalry had simply transformed into something different. Something that might actually resemble friendship if they weren't careful. Morning arrived with cloudy skies threatening rain. Aide reached the old community center at exactly 9 o'clock. Proud of his punctuality, Lila was already there, sitting on the steps, proving that some childhood habits stayed permanent. She wore simple clothes today, leggings and an oversized shirt, but her sneakers remained bright and impossible to ignore. Finally, she said, though her tone held no real annoyance, I was starting to think you'd chickened out. What do you need help with? Aide asked, getting straight to business. Lila stood and opened the community center's door. Inside, the space was empty except for an old sound system and some scattered chairs. I need an honest audience, she explained. Someone who'll tell me if my routine actually works or if I'm just fooling myself. Everyone else will either love it because it's modern or hate it because it's different. You'll tell me the truth. Aide felt surprised by her trust. Why are you so sure I'll be honest? Because you always were, Lila said simply. Even when we were kids competing in everything, you never lied about my performances. You'd admit when I was good, even though it clearly killed you inside. She was right. Aide had always prided himself on honesty, sometimes painfully so. All right, he agreed. Show me what you've got. Lila pressed play on the sound system. Music filled the space, a surprising blend of traditional Yoruba drums mixed with modern hip-hop beats. It shouldn't have worked, but somehow it did, creating something entirely new that respected both origins. Then Lila began to dance. Aide's breath caught in his throat. She started with traditional masquerade steps, movements passed down through generations. Steps his grandmother had shown him years ago. Slow, deliberate, meaningful gestures that told stories without words. But then she transitioned seamlessly into modern moves, hip-hop isolations, breakdancing freezes, contemporary dance flows. Her sneakers squeaked against the floor as she spun and flipped. Yet she never abandoned the traditional foundation. Every modern move connected back to the ancestral steps, like a conversation between past and present. She finished with a dramatic leap, landing perfectly as the music ended. Sweat dripped down her face. Her chest heaved with exertion. She looked at Aide expectantly. Well, she asked, tell me the truth. Is it good or is it garbage? Aide took a moment to find his words. Finally, he said, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But you're going to make a lot of people very angry. Good, Lila grinned. Angry people pay attention. They spent the next 3 hours refining her routine. Aide pointed out moments where the transitions felt awkward or where traditional steps could be emphasized more clearly. Lila listened, adjusted, practiced again. Despite their history of competition, they worked together surprisingly well, their different perspectives complementing each other. Around noon, Lila collapsed against the wall, exhausted but satisfied. Thank you, she said between heavy breaths. This is better because of your input. You have a good eye for detail. My grandmother forced me to watch a million masquerade performances. Aide explained, I learned to notice the small things that make good dancers great. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, listening to Lagos sounds filtering through the window's car horns, vendor calls, generator hums, the constant symphony of city life. Why did you really come back? Aide asked suddenly. Your family is still in London, right? You could have stayed there, lived comfortably. Why return to Lagos and start all this trouble? Lila's expression grew distant, thoughtful. London was nice. Clean streets, functioning systems, opportunities everywhere. But it never felt like home. I was always the foreign girl, the outsider. Here, even in all the chaos, I belong. I'm part of something bigger than myself. Plus, Lila added, with a mischievous smile, London didn't have anyone like you to argue with. Life got boring without a proper rival. Aide threw a rolled-up paper at her, which she dodged easily, laughing. Still competitive, I see, he said. Always, she replied. Speaking of competition, I heard the festival committee chose their traditional champion. Want to guess who? Who? Femi Adebayo. Aide's eyes widened. The Femi Adebayo, the guy who won the National Traditional Dance Championship 3 years in a row. The one who performs for the Oba during special ceremonies. That's the one, Lila confirmed. Though her voice carried more excitement than fear, they're not playing around. They want to prove that traditional style still reigns supreme. Are you scared? Aide asked. Terrified, Lila admitted honestly. Femi is incredible. He's trained his entire life for traditional performance. I'm just a girl who spent 7 years abroad and came back thinking she could revolutionize culture with a pair of sneakers. She paused, then added, but being scared doesn't mean giving up. It means the stakes are real. It means this matters. Aide nodded slowly. He understood that feeling completely. What time is the competition tomorrow? 5 o'clock. Sunset again. Saturday arrived with unbearable heat and humidity. Aide woke early, his mind already racing. Today would determine whether Lila's vision of evolved tradition would gain acceptance or face complete rejection. The stakes felt enormous, bigger than just a dance competition. He checked social media and found that news of the competition had spread rapidly. Someone had created an Instagram event page that already had 15,000 followers. People were choosing sides aggressively. Team traditional versus team modern. Arguments filled every comment section. Local news bloggers promised live coverage. Aide's phone rang. His grandmother. He answered nervously. Aide, my child. Her voice crackled through the speaker. I heard about this competition today. I heard you've been helping that Lila girl, the one disrespecting masquerades with sneakers. Is this true? Grandma, it's not disrespect. Let me finish, she interrupted gently. I called to say I'm proud of you. Aide nearly dropped his phone. What? Culture belongs to everyone, his grandmother said. It changes with each generation, whether we like it or not. The question isn't whether it changes, but whether we guide that change or let it die completely. You're helping guide it. That takes courage. Tears surprised Aide's eyes. Thank you, Grandma. Just promise me one thing. Whatever happens today, treat tradition with respect. By 4 o'clock, crowds had gathered in Akage's main festival ground. Vendors sold suya, groundnuts, and cold drinks. Children ran between adults' legs, excited by the unusual energy. Teenagers clustered in groups, phones ready to record everything. Elders sat on provided chairs, their faces serious and judgmental. Aide estimated at least 3,000 people had come, maybe more. The festival committee had set up a proper stage with professional sound equipment. This wasn't some small community event anymore. This had become something significant, something that would be remembered and discussed for years. He found Lila backstage, stretching and breathing deeply. She wore her full outfit, now the traditional masquerade mask, combined with modern streetwear and those bright white sneakers. The combination looked stunning and rebellious simultaneously. Big crowd, Aide observed, trying to sound calm. Huge crowd, Lila corrected. Half of Lagos must be here. No pressure or anything. You'll be amazing, Aide said with absolute certainty. You've prepared well. You've created something unique and powerful. Trust yourself. Before Lila could respond, they heard rhythmic drumming begin. The traditional performance was starting. Femi Adebayo had arrived to show everyone why tradition had survived for centuries, and why modernity might not be necessary at all. Femi Adebayo was magnificent. Aide had to admit it, watching from the side of the stage. The traditional champion moved with the kind of grace that comes from years of dedicated practice. Every step carried meaning. Every gesture told stories. His masquerade costume was authentic in every detail: carved mask, layered raffia, ceremonial decorations passed down through generations. The crowd watched in respectful silence as Femi performed. Even the teenagers stopped scrolling their phones. This was masquerade dancing at its purest form, unchanged for centuries, powerful and hypnotic. Femi's movements invoked ancestral spirits, honored the past, demonstrated why tradition mattered so deeply. When he finished, the crowd erupted in applause. Elders nodded approval. Even young people clapped enthusiastically, clearly impressed by the skill and authenticity. Aid's heart sank slightly. How could Lila possibly compete with that? How could modern movements match something so deeply rooted in history? Chief Adeyemi took the microphone. That was traditional masquerade at its finest. He announced, "Now, let's see what the modern approach offers. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the sneaker masquerade." The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some people cheered, others booed. Most waited with curiosity and skepticism. Lila walked onto the stage, her white sneakers gleaming under the stage lights. The afternoon sun was setting, painting everything in golden light. The music started. Those drums blended with modern beats. Lila began with traditional steps, immediately showing respect for ancestral movements. The crowd's booing quieted slightly. People leaned forward, curious despite their skepticism. Then Lila began incorporating modern elements. Hip-hop isolations flowed into traditional spins. Breakdancing freezes connected to ceremonial gestures. Her sneakers became part of the storytelling, squeaking against the stage floor like percussion, instruments adding to the music's rhythm. But what made the performance truly special was how Lila never abandoned tradition even while embracing modernity. Every flip acknowledged the old steps. Every contemporary move paid homage to ancestral movements. She wasn't rejecting the past, she was building upon it, creating something that belonged to both yesterday and tomorrow. The crowd's energy shifted. Aid could feel it like electricity in the air. Young people started cheering loudly. Even some elders nodded appreciatively, recognizing the respect woven throughout Lila's modern interpretation. Lila executed her final move, a dramatic leap that combined traditional masquerade flourish with gymnastic skill. She landed perfectly as the music ended. One knee on the ground, head bowed in respect. Sneakers planted firmly on Lagos soil. For 3 seconds, silence. Then the crowd exploded. Chaos erupted in the best possible way. People jumped to their feet, screaming approval and disagreement simultaneously. Friends argued passionately. Teenagers recorded everything, already uploading videos to Instagram and TikTok. Vendors abandoned their stalls to see what the commotion was about. Chief Adeyemi tried to restore order, but his voice couldn't compete with 3,000 people shouting their opinions. Eventually, he gave up and just smiled, watching the passion and energy that Lila's performance had ignited. Aid rushed backstage where Lila sat removing her mask, sweat pouring down her face but her eyes shining with triumph and exhaustion. "Did you hear that?" she asked breathlessly. "Did you hear them react?" "The entire neighborhood heard them," Aid laughed. "I think you broke something in Lagos today, something that maybe needed breaking." Before Lila could respond, a small group approached Chief Adeyemi, Femi Adebayo, and several committee members. Aid tensed, prepared to defend Lila if necessary, but the chief was smiling, and so was Femi. "That," Femi said, extending his hand to Lila, "was the most interesting performance I've witnessed in my 15 years of dancing. You honored tradition while pushing it forward. I respect that deeply." Lila shook his hand, looking stunned and grateful. Chief Adeyemi cleared his throat, speaking loud enough for nearby people to hear. "No official winner will be announced today," he said, "because this wasn't really about winning or losing. It was about starting a conversation, a necessary conversation about how culture evolves and survives." He looked at both dancers with equal respect. Femi showed us the beauty and power of unchanged tradition. Lila showed us the possibility of respectful evolution. Both performances mattered. Both taught us something valuable. The chief turned to address the crowd. Moving forward, our festivals will welcome both approaches. Traditional masquerades and modern interpretations can coexist, can learn from each other, can strengthen our culture instead of dividing it. The crowd's response was overwhelmingly positive. Even the skeptics seemed willing to accept this compromise. Later that evening, after the crowds dispersed and vendors packed their stalls, Aid and Lila sat on the festival ground's edge, watching the sun complete its descent. Lagos stretched before them, chaotic and beautiful and alive with possibility. "So," Lila said, nudging Aid with her elbow, "still think I'm disrespecting tradition?" "I think," Aid replied carefully, "you're doing something braver. You're keeping it alive." Lila smiled, removed her sneakers, and wiggled her tired feet. "Next year, maybe joggers," she joked. Aid laughed. And somewhere in the city, tradition danced forward into an uncertain but exciting future.